Hey everyone, welcome to the video. I'm Tim and we're here at the lake. It's a beautiful night. It's going to have a clear sky, which I love because I want to see some stars tonight, hopefully some shooting stars. But the video is about Starlink. It's taken me 3.5 weeks to fix a problem that I actually caused, and I caused that problem by putting additional equipment on my Jeep Gladiator. So we're going to go back through and go through what I did wrong with the Starlink and how I fixed it. And I'm going to save you guys a lot of time because it's taken me a lot of time to figure it out. It's been 4 Amazon truck orders later. I finally got this thing dialed in and it's running like a champ. So let's get started. Tim, and today we're going to be talking about how I broke my Starlink. And I really didn't break it. I just made it to where it's not working very good. I went to Harbor Freight and I bought some of these boxes to go on each side of my roof rack. And as soon as I did that, I didn't think it was too big a deal. Once I got it mounted, everything was working fine. But as time went on, I noticed my signal was declined. And when I was out of rural areas, it said obstruction the whole time. So let me show you how I have it set up. And I have the Starlink here in the middle of the two. So with this, with the position that the Starlink's in, it's not always getting the best access to the satellites from where it's at. And it's showing me an obstruction most of the time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a third box and try to mount it over to that. I just remembered I actually have a third one of these boxes on my trailer here, and I don't hardly use this anymore. So what I'm going to do is take this one apart. I'm going to put it up on top of the Jeep. I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to actually mount it directly to this lid, and that way I'll make it to where it's detachable. So if I'm at a campsite, I can disconnect it. And I got a really neat idea on how I'm going to run my wires and everything. So I'm going to share that with you today. But this kit here I've had for quite a while. And don't laugh at me. This is one of our fun kits. You know, we do smoke cigars, and what goes really great with cigars is mojito. So this was my tactical mojito kit, which I really don't need that no more. It was kind of fun at the time, but I do need another box for my Starlink. So we're going to give up the tactical mojito kit, and we're going to use this box now for the Starlink. With this box, I'm going to do the same thing I did with the other boxes. I'm going to drill some holes in the bottom here so I can mount it to my roof rack. And then I'm going to drill some holes up here so the Starlink mount's going to mount right up here to the top of this. And I can actually store that 50-foot cord that comes with Starlink inside here, so that will be neat too. And whenever I want it, I can just detach it from here and move it around to wherever I need it. So overall, this might be a blessing in disguise. This might work out good. To mount another box on top, I would have to take the existing box off so I could access it. The Harbor Freight boxes have been doing really well, and they've been maintaining a watertight seal, which I've been happy with. I used the existing channels that was on my roof rack to run the bolts down to the proper position. I had to measure inside the box to figure out where the bolts would need to be, and once done, I drilled the holes and lined the bolts up. I used a washer and lock nuts on the inside, followed by some gasket sealer to make sure everything stays nice, secure, and dry. And once that was mounted, I was able to put the old box back on, line up the holes with that, and mount it back to where it was. Overall, I haven't had any problems with the Harbor Freight boxes. They've held secure. I can't really tell they're up there. I don't notice any wind noise or vibrations or anything coming from them. So I'm very happy with that install as well. All right, guys, so I mounted the Starlink up here on top of my roof. That was working great. The only problem is this type of case that it came with, or this type of case I added to it. Unfortunately, it is very difficult to get it in and out. I was hoping to do some kind of quick release system to where I could pull it out real easy, but unfortunately this isn't it. So I picked up another bracket that has where you can use these 3 screw holes here and secure it in. So the sun's going down, it's starting to get late, the bats are already flying around here, so I'm going to get down here and try to get this off and get it done tonight. So first of all, we got to remove this mount. Now the bad news is as I was hoping, since this mount looked a lot alike the other Starlink, it is nothing like the other mount. You can see the holes for this is going to be totally different. So I'm going to have to re-drill the holes for this and then seal in to where this doesn't leak. So I'm going to get started. Okay, now I'm able to get the Starlink off. I can check out these bolt patterns, which aren't the same, of course. I'm going to now have to take this apart so I can get the Starlink out of here. Maybe able to reuse this hardware. Now, I'll have to take these magnets off of this Starlink mount so I can run the bolts through here. But first I'll have to mark them before I do that. So I'm going to go ahead and get these off. The next thing will be is to mark it on here, see exactly where I want this to sit. And it looks like, actually, I don't think any of these holes even line up with the original ones. I can't even find two that line up together. So that means I'll be drilling all brand new holes, which is fine. I'm just going to put some sealant underneath these here to cover those up. Then I'm going to lay this down on top, and that's where the new holes would be drilled. What I like to do is whenever I run this bolt through, also run a washer through. Just for the extra support here on this lid. All right, that wasn't too bad. So now we have this mounted to our box. And we're also running out of daylight, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw all my tools back in here for the night. I'll come back out here tomorrow and I'll finish this job. And I'll also seal up these holes from where we just had to drill for this new Starlink. And this is the new plate for that. And we'll pick this up tomorrow. The next morning I got to work on the Starlink. I took the brackets back apart and I used some duct tape on the inside of the box where the old holes were. I then ran a black RTV silicone instant gasket maker by ProSeal around to where the old bolts were and where the new bolts were going to go to make sure that I didn't have any leaks inside of the box. I ran a bead around to where the bracket was as well before it gets to those holes, just to make sure I could seal it up tight and keep it watertight. I later ran a garden hose over it, followed by several heavy rains that I've been in, and so far everything is keeping nice and dry inside the box, so I recommend that. The other thing that is handy with this is using the lock nuts along with the bolts and the washers, just to make sure you have a really good tight seal on that to where it's not going to work its way loose on a rough road. So overall, I've been very pleased with this. All right, so last weekend I went camping. I was pretty excited to try this system out. I've been working on this video for a long time. This has been about a 3-week video, and I just keep running into problems. It hasn't been perfect, so I haven't been able to release it because every time I turn around, I stumble over a new problem. So last week when I got to camp, I got out the cable that comes with the Starlink, which is the 50-foot cable, and I plugged it in, and absolutely nothing happened. It wouldn't get enough power, it wouldn't come up or nothing. So I plugged it back into the connector on my roof, which is a shorter cable and a higher gauge, and it worked fine. So that made me wonder that maybe I just need a heavier cable. So I used the Stargear cable, but what's different about it than the one that comes with the Starlink is this is a 16 gauge cable, and you can tell noticeably just by the size of these two cables that this is a much larger and heavier cable. And what that actually does for us is that allows it to carry more power through at longer distances, and this is 32 feet. With this being 50 feet and with it being a lower gauge cable, it just wasn't making it. Now, if I would have hooked it into my inverter or another power supply that would put out 100 watts, like maybe a Jackery or EcoFlow or something along there, it would have been fine. But I don't want to use that. I want to use my dual battery system with my Jeep, so I need a cable that's going to work. So I got this 16 gauge cable. We're going to see today if it works. And I'm going to hook it into my pigtail I made here. This is the pigtail end. And then I put a female barrel connector, and I can leave links to all this in the description along with this cable. And I made sure when I ordered the cable it had 2 barrel connectors on it, so that way I can plug it into this. And while I was online, I also found a little stand that was pretty cool that is made for the Starlink. And I like it because it's going to fit inside my case on the roof. So I can take this, and first thing I'll have to do before I put the Starlink on it is I'll just have to run the cable through this mount to make sure it goes under that. And now I can plug the Starlink in. And I like it because it has the water grommets on there, so it's going to give me some protection, especially with this being sitting on the ground now. And I can run this through and plug it in just like that. So that fits. So this is going to allow me to use my phone and get the proper alignment for the Starlink, so everything's going to be optimal when I'm trying to use it. Unlike last week, the campground I was at didn't have any cellular service at all, and I wasn't able to get anything because all the campgrounds around here are pretty much the same. In Arkansas, they're even worse, that they're in shaded areas, lots of trees over the top of us, which you want when you're camping. You like shade, shade's your friend, but it's not Starlink's friend, and you can't get a signal when you're doing that. So by this setup, I think it's going to solve all of our problems. I don't know if this is going to work yet, but we're going to find out. So the first thing I got to do is hook it into my dual battery system. And that's easy because on both sides of my Jeep, whenever I made my dual battery system, I made it with a pigtail on each side. And what this does, it shields the positive side, and there's the negative, so you don't have to worry about it grounding out on the chassis. So I just made my own plug with the pigtail on this side and the female barrel connector on this side. So all I got to do is plug this in. And now I got to plug the barrel connector in, and I should have power. It takes a few minutes for Starlink to set up, so I'm hoping it's going to work this time. So we'll see. I'm going to go to the Starlink app. I'm going to see if I'm getting any kind of signal here, if the Starlink's going to work. Fingers crossed, it didn't work last time. Okay, it's already coming up, so that's a good sign. It actually worked. We got power. That's exciting for me because I have been fighting this for weeks. So here we go. So the Starlink is working. We're going to go to the Starlink app, and it says it's trying to connect. So now I can get this 32 feet away from my Jeep on either side. I can run it that way. I'm going to run it this way, but here I'm just going to run it here. And now it's trying to calculate it. So what I'm going to do, because inside the Jeep right now, when I pulled in here, it said that it was obstructed. So I'm going to go into alignments here. I'm going to try to find out where Starlink likes it. And this pavement here is kind of uneven, or this gravel, I mean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick one of these legs out to give it some stability on each side. Just kind of shore it up a little bit to where it's level. There we go. So it's telling me my Starlink needs to go that way. Let's just try another position here. We'll put that down so I can do this a little easier. These are tightened up, so I'm going to have to loosen these. It says my tilt is incorrect. So let's fix the tilt. And I'm a rookie at this. I haven't done this very many times, so we are finding out as we go here. Normally I just keep it in the cradle. Oh, there it went. We'll try it again. It looks like I almost had it. I'm going to let some more of this leg out to tilt it more the way that it wants it to be. And now it says it's aligned, so we did it. Starlink's aligned now, it's working. We're going to run a speed test on it real fast. And speed test it. And it's cranking out. It's working fine. I'm getting plenty of signal here. I'm satisfied with those speeds. That should be plenty for what I'm going to need it for. So this all packs up in here real nice and neat. All I got to do is put these legs back in. So basically that's going to fit in here really nice. It's going to fit in like that. We're now going to use these wing nuts on each side. I just tighten these down. They are plastic, so don't over tighten. Really nothing to it. So that keeps everything secure on top of the Jeep here. It doesn't move around at all, doesn't rattle. I got the wires coming in behind it, so they're out of the way. So I like this install. It's exactly what I'm looking for. All right, guys, so my Starlink problem is finally solved. 3 weeks it took, 2 different mounts, 2 different cables, and we got it. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. It really helps out my channel, and we'll see you in the next video.